Welcome to ShipsGo and welcome to ShipsGo Talks. We are right now in our office. Maybe you can see in the background our office. So we are totally live and we are going to discuss today very hot topics about the container transportation. But first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Okan Tuna. I am the co-founder of ShipsGo and I'm going to moderate today's discussion. Frankly speaking, since the very beginning of this company, our motto is very clear: to make happy people with the information. What kind of information? Information with the container tracking. Just, giving the on-time alerts to our customers about the container cargo transportation, make them happy. And also, right now, we have just started to give information about the air cargo tracking. We are trying to make them happy about that. We are also giving information about the carbon emission calculation, just making the people happy all the time with the information. In addition to that, also we are making very sound and very well designed studies, scientifically designed studies, with the help of, thanks to the distinguished professors. Today, we are going to talk about those studies. So far, our team, thanks to our academic advisors, done 2 different studies. The first one is the environmental sensitivity about the container transportation, which was a very broad research about the environmental issues. And the second one is the longitudinal study about the container transportation trends, which we call it as the container transportation barometer. This is the longitudinal study. So today we are going to talk those studies with 2 distinguished professors. I would like to invite, first of all, Professor Onur Aktaş. Welcome.
Hello, everybody.
Please take your seat. And also I would like to invite Volkan Çetinkaya, Professor.
Hello.
Welcome, professors. How is everything so far?
Yeah,
Are we ready for the discussion?
Yes. First of all, I personally would like to thank the great team, ShipsGo family, and as co-founder to you, I think this synergy is sourced from you and your energy.
Thank you.
That's great family, and I really have an honor to be a part of this family. I should say that.
Okay. You are both from the Dokuzeli University.
Yes.
You are the professor of the Maritime Business Administration, Onur, and the Volkan is the professor of the logistics. They are doing academic research. Also, they are advisors to ShipsGo as well in our various projects. So, I would like to start with the environmental sensitivity.
Okay.
Because it was a very broad research. You were the lead researcher of this research. What was the motivation of that research? Can you give some information about the details, the motivation behind that research? Maybe first of all, we can talk about that.
Okay. This project, first of all, I should say that this project is a kind of university-industry collaboration, and this project is granted by the Turkish scientific authorities. At first, I should say that, and then it is a kind of preliminary research on environmental sensitivity. It tries to explore the if the environmental sensitivity is a selection criteria, carrier selection criteria in container transportation.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes. Surprisingly, at the time of research, we should say that it was surprisingly, but today's I personally can say that it is a normal output. And environmental sensitivity of the container transportation carriers and is the selection criteria for both BCOs and for both forwarders.
So we can say that, I mean, because as far as I know, you have collected that data from more than
81 countries.
81 countries.
Yes.
Those were mainly the customers of the ShipsGo
Yes.
from the database of the ShipsGo.
Yes.
And then you may conclude that both the beneficial cargo owners and the freight forwarders really take care of the environmental sensitivity.
Yes, definitely. And in addition to that, we have made some, let's say, we have, I should say that, tested the other variables.
Mhm.
What were these variables? Besides environmental sensitivity, the schedule reliability and the transit time, the cost of freight and service workings and transshipment level. These are all the variables we have tested, and we have made some trade-off analysis. And I should easily and very personally say that the environmental sensitivity is the most important selection variable above all of these variables.
And also, right now, maybe you see that the figures on the screen.
Yes.
These are the other findings, I think. Maybe you can talk those findings as well. I mean, environmental sensitivity versus cost of freight.
Yes.
How forwarders, how beneficial cargo owners perceive that.
Yes.
Also, maybe you can talk about that.
Yes, it is a kind. It was one of the trade-off analysis. We have made comparison between environmental sensitivity and the cost of freight, and here you can see the results, and approximately 57% of all respondents agree to pay more freight, and approximately 61.5% of the forwarders are willing to pay higher cost of freight, and the 54.5% of the BCOs, it is the same for BCOs. And I should underline the importance of environmental sensitivity here. We have found that, to conclude, after trade-off analysis, the majority of the participants are agreed to pay more cost of freight if the carrier has environmental sensitivity.
That's very,
Yes.
interesting
Yes.
finding.
Yes.
So the customers are willing to pay more if they see the environmental sensitivity.
Yes, exactly. This is the finding, and this is the conclusion of our this broad study.
Are there any differences among the countries, or this is the common perception of the participants? What do you think?
Academically, we have tested the results in whole, but particularly in USA, in Turkey, we have seen these importance higher than the other countries. And after that, the third one is India, I think, and then we see in the fourth row is Pakistan. These are the countries that takes or gives so many importance to the environmental sensitivity, and they are willing to pay more for the if the carrier has an environmental sensitivity.
So we can say that for the sake of the environmental sensitivity, the future is bright.
Yes, that's right.
We can
easily say
that.
Yes.
Based on our research, the future is bright.
Yes.
Why? Okay, the cost is important. Okay, the transit time is important. The schedule reliability is important. That's okay. But on the other hand, because I have a professor also, and I've been working on the carrier selection for more than 30 years. 10 years ago, we were not talking about that kind of variable as a selection variable. I mean, the sustainability, our sustainable sensitivity. But right now, we can say that academically, the people, the consumers, the users, whatever we say, are willing to pay more for the sake of the environmental sensitivity.
That's right.
That's great.
Yes.
At least we are hopeful
Yes.
for our children, for our world. At least we are considering the environment. And also, at least we are happy because the container transportation industry is a very leading industry, guys.
Yes.
And in that sense, very keen on to work with the environmental issues. I will turn back to you, Onur, about the environmental issues and decarbonization issues. But I would like to turn to Volkan, because your study was based on another study, environmental sensitivity, but also in ShipsGo, we are doing another study, container transportation barometer trends, very long, but anyway, we are trying to measure the trends of the container transportation. And it's a longitudinal study.
Yes.
And we are trying to understand the perception of the container transportation industry in quarters. And we have been doing this study for more than 4 or 5 quarters. 4 quarters. So we have some remarkable outputs to talk about the container transportation and what's happening in the container transportation. Let me ask you, what's the current situation of container shipping? I mean, transport or whatever we say, considering the volume and the freight rates, because everyone just talking about the volume of the container transportation nowadays and the freight rates.
Yes.
What are the findings of our study? You are the leading researcher of the study. Maybe you can say something about that.
Thank you very much. In this study, we have collected data from ShipsGo customers, and we try to understand the perception of the customers about different variables. For example, congestion, volume, transportation volume, and freight rate, and the other different variables. The most important issue here is we discussed about, as you say, transportation volume and the freight rate. And we have been conducting this study since the first quarter of 2022, and it's for 5 periods. And if you look at the current situation, considering the last quarter, the first quarter of 2023, in this study, we have observed that the BCOs, as you see in the figure, 57% of the BCOs and 47% of the forwarders, they expect that an increase in transportation volume, and this has been going on since the first quarter of the 2022, and the expectation of volume is high since the very beginning of 2022. So maybe we can conclude that the BCOs, especially, why the BCOs think that an increasement in the transportation volume, because in COVID-19 term, they cannot transport their freights. So I think they have some uneasiness in this process, and they are worried about that process. So they think that the volume will be higher. And we have calculated a volume index by using the average index method. So in this index, the values start from 0 and goes up to 200. What does it mean? If the value is higher than 100, this means that the expectation level is higher. If the value is lower than 100, the expectation level is lower. So if you see if you look at the figure, the container trade volume index, from the very beginning of this study, the trade volume index is always higher. And if we talk about the freight rates, considering volume, because these two variables are up to each other. The freight rate barometer, this is a complex problem, and this is extraordinary problem because of COVID-19. Normally, these two variables are up to each other because the volume and the supply and the rate, the price. But the COVID-19 is an extraordinary term. If you look at the freight rate barometer and the container freight rates expectations, the BCOs are in expectation of increase in freight rate, but the forwarders are in expectation of decrease in freight rate.
What's the reason? It's very
Yes,
weird
very
situation. Very weird situation. What's your point about that?
My opinion. I think the BCOs are threatened the situation in COVID-19. So the forwarders think that they can manage this process. It's a manageable process because they learned too many things from COVID-19. Because the forwarders are in the center of the operations. BCOs don't know.
They are just feeling what's happening in the industry.
Yes.
They easily understand what's happening because they're in the middle of the, the process. But that's the main difference, maybe.
Yes. And if you look at the freight rate index here, in the very beginning of the study, the freight rate expectations is really high. But if you look at the last period of 2022, it's very low. The value is here 40.
Very interesting. I mean, if I look at the index starting from 139, 127, 93, quarter by quarter, then 40,
yes.
And in the first quarter of this year, again 81. It's very interesting.
But it's under 100.
Yeah.
Still is.
Yes, still is 100.
100. We can say that, we can conclude that the rate expectation is low now.
Okay.
And we are converting to normal situation.
Okay. We are hoping to convert to normal situation.
Yes.
If you don't face any unexpected disruptions, because pandemic was a very big disruption for the container transportation, disrupted the industry in terms of freight rates, volume, and also port congestion. That's another point. So we are expecting good days, can we say, in terms of volume and rate? What's your point?
If we don't have any extraordinary situation like COVID-19, it's okay. But the problem is here not only related to volume, it's also related to congestion in ports.
Okay.
In ports or in countries, we have lockdowns. And so because of these lockdowns, we have an employment effect. Because the workers cannot work, the ports cannot work. So this effect caused congestion in ports. Because of the congestion, the freight rates would be high.
Also, we have a congestion expectancy about the index. Maybe we can talk about that because congestion problem is a very big problem. Triggered, as you said, that the volume and the rates. Just can you explain that congestion expectancy in terms of based on our study? Can you explain about that?
And also we asked our customers the expectancy of congestion in ports, and there is an interesting finding here again. The BCOs expect that there will be an increase in congestion, and the forwarders expect that only 20% of forwarders expect that there will be an increase in congestion in the ports. This is the same thing which we talked in the last chapter. The BCOs have uneasiness. They don't know the port processes and transportation processes, but the forwarders are sure what to do in these situations.
That's very normal, because forwarders and the BCOs, forwarders, as we said, that know the situation, the process very well. Yeah.
Yes. And we have congestion index. Again, it's also interesting, and it's like freight rates. As you see here, the trend is almost the same with the freight rates. The congestion index is higher in the very beginning of this study, and now the congestion index is in the same value as we talk about the freight rates. So we can conclude that in COVID-19 or after COVID-19 terms, the freight rates and the congestion index are up to each other more than the volume. So this is the main findings of our study.
Okay, very nice. I will turn to you, Onur. We will finish with you with just talking about the, again, sustainability practices and the decarbonization.
Okay.
But what's happening in the office? Is everything okay? Yes. And also, I would like to remind you that those studies, you can easily find out the studies in our website, www.shipsgo.com. If you can, click, you can easily access these studies free, no problem, because we would like to make happy with information. Also, this is our first live stream, ShipsGo Talks, and we are planning to do more. Right now, we are in front of the camera, but we have a very big backstage. And right now, Semih is helping us. Maybe, Semih, you can come here and you can say hello.
Hello.
Come here. We don't see you. Just say, when just say hello.
Everyone see me now?
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
And also, we have a very good team behind that broadcast, I hope. So thank you very much, Semih. Okay.
Yes.
How is everything?
Yes, everything is going
Okay.
well.
Just talk about the perception of the industry. The perception of the industry, again, the sustainability and the carbonization process. Probably you will base your answer again based on the container transportation barometer trends. Maybe we can give some insights about that.
Okay. As we talked earlier, we have made a great and very broad research on to measure the effects of environmental sensitivity on the selection criteria in container transportation, and we have found out that this is a really best criteria to select the carriers. This was our findings, one of our findings, and now Volkan has been leading another research, and that research has also a heading about the environmental sensitivity, and they measure the environmental sensitivity index, and in line with our previous research, they have found that these participants expect an increase in the environmental sensitivity on the container transportation, both BCOs and forwarders. What does it mean? But BCOs are willing more increasing environmental sensitivity index, and they are on the demand side, and it means that they are the environmental sensitivity is getting strong as a variable, as a selection variable. Yeah, and they are seeking to explore the environmental sensitivity of the carrier, BCOs, and forwarders are also expecting an increase expecting an increase in environmental sensitivity index. And nearly no decrease answer has been taken from the participants according to the results. And it means that even BCOs, as I said earlier, they are on the demand side because they demand the transportation service and it starts. And so that they are seeking environmental sensitivity of the carriers. And it means that it is going to be well positioned as a selection criteria on the industry.
Okay, good. So we are hopeful.
Yes, of course.
As always.
Yes, of course.
Because as long as the trade volume increases, the container transportation volume increases too. Of course, we are facing some problems, disruptions, but anyway, we believe in the power of the industry, very flexible industry, and very easily adapt to the new changes. But at least we are very hopeful about the findings on environmental sensitivity. I'm very concerned about that, and as ShipsGo, we are very concerned about that issue. So I'm just wrapping up our talks because our aim is to make our discussion very short and very focused, and also we are going to put it in the YouTube. But as I said before, you can easily find out those studies from our website. You can easily look at the details. You will find more about these topics. And also, I would like to thank our distinguished professors. Thank you very much for your contribution. We are still working with them. And time to time, again, we will meet together and we will again discuss the results of our studies with you.
Appreciate it.
And also, I would like to thank all the participants from all over the world. And probably we are hoping to meet you again in the next ShipsGo Talks. We will inform you about that. Thanks and see you then. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.